Wow,
Let's
let's
hop in. Rachel,
go.
it's so good to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, Joe, I'm so excited to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, I am too. So let's begin our journey into your work, which is fascinating, by asking you this. 5 years ago, the pandemic changed so many things about us on our human march down here. How did you survive the pandemic of 2020, and how has that extended into your life in 2025?
Oh my goodness. Wow. So I am a mum with two young boys. And so like many parents, we were juggling working, both me and my husband, and homeschooling our eldest and then looking after a toddler. So yeah. Yeah, and we are based in Nottingham in England, and we really were on lockdown. And so for, 3 months, there was no going out, socializing, any help from anyone else. And I think quite honestly, towards the end of that first 3 months, I was on my knees because what was happening was, so my husband, who's got a corporate role, he was having to show up for work between 8:30 and 5 every day. So I was looking after the kids between 8:30 and 5. He would then take over from with the children, and I would start my work in my business, which could be a little bit more flexible, at 5 o'clock at night. I'd stop, have dinner with the family, make sure the kids were, in bed. Of course, my husband predominantly took a lot of that off me, but I would then work till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to get my day of work done. And then the children would be up from 6, and I'd have them again, 6 till, till my husband finished work. It was tough. There was very little space or time for any restoration, and I was desperate, absolutely desperate for help. And thankfully, it came just before I think I broke, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I get it. So let's get into your good work. If I was to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds, kids get the truth out of us. It's career day, and the kid in the back of the room is like, "What do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
What do I do for a living? I help people to lead better, to live better, and to love what they do. And what does that mean? I talk to adults. I'm a bit of a teacher for adults. I'm a teacher and a yeah, teacher and a coach. I'm not sure kids would understand teacher and a coach. What do I do? I talk to yeah, I talk and help adults
I
with
think,
their stuff.
yeah, I think they would know that, and the kids definitely know adults have their stuff. So, what did you want to be when you were 12 years old? What was your dream, absolute dream job gig?
Oh my goodness. So it was interesting because between the ages of 12 and 21, I grew up and worked in my mum's hair and beauty salon. By the time I was 14, I'd had enough of sweeping the floor and making everyone's teas and coffees. And I was like, Mum, please train me to do something else. And so I got trained to look after the reception. And I think even at that very early age, one of the things that I loved and was absolutely passionate and fascinated with was people. So it was a really busy hair and beauty salon. We'd have over 300 clients a week. I mean, I'm 45 now, so it was way pre-internet and any computers. I had two telephone lines that would be coming in, and I'd be answering those and dealing with people on the desk. And I had to make judgments about how I was going to behave and respond to people that were coming in. And I had to read their body language in a matter of seconds to understand the situation and where they were at and what was happening. And I was often trying to do that while holding down two telephone lines and multiple people at the desk as well. And so I can always remember in secondary school, so I would have been somewhere between the sort of ages of 12 and 15, 16, just being fascinated with how people ticked. Like, what was it that meant that the school bullies were bullying? What was behind that behavior?
Yeah.
So I've always been fascinated with people, and and honestly, I think I always thought I wanted to go into like a marketing or a PR kind of role. And I followed that academically. So I've got a master's in marketing and management, and I did go into the corporate world in both, and I've had sort of senior leadership positions in both sales and marketing. But I got to a point where I was like, this is not what I want. And I call what I do now a soul's contract. I absolutely flipping love it.
So let's go back to the beginnings. What were the foundational seeds that were planted that grew into this fascination with human behavior and psychology, and you eventually finding your true calling by helping people find what makes them tick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like so many journeys. It's not a straight line, and there's not one single choice point or moment. There's multiple ones along, kind of along the way. And I think, I think growing up in the salon as I did, seeing how different people behaved and treated others, I was fascinated by. We had some clients that insisted on having not one biscuit with their coffee, but two, and that those biscuits, the wrappers needed to be opened for them. And then you had people who were, just on the complete other end of the spectrum and just so warm and lovely and gracious and everything in between. And there was one there was one lady I remember looking after. She phoned into the salon. She was undergoing treatment for cancer and she'd lost all of her hair. And her family and friends had saved up to buy her a natural wig, natural hair wig. And she was petrified to get this cut because they were really expensive, probably not as well put together as they are now because I'm going back 30 odd years. And and of course you don't get to do it twice. It's not going to grow back. Once you cut a wig, you've cut a wig, that's it.
Yeah.
And I said to her, look, there's one person, one hairdresser I want to recommend. And she's like, yes, but I'm also really embarrassed about coming in with no hair into a hairdresser's. I said, it's okay. We'll keep the salon open for you after we close, 7 p.m. tonight. Be here and we will look after you. We sat her around the back of the salon, away from the window, away from any prying eyes. And my mum looked after her, transformed her wig, and the impact that that had on that person and on their self-esteem. And it's moments like, and you saw it multiple time again in the salon, but seeing that transformation of somebody coming in, maybe feeling a bit hassled, stressed, whatever it is, looking after them, and then leaving the salon feeling at peace, at calm, feeling better about themselves. That I think probably had a deeper impression than I might first realize in terms of, serving, helping, supporting others, and that transformation that's possible.
So who's been that inspirational force, that hero in your life that's allowed you to evolve to where you are today?
Mm. Do you know, I was reflecting on this on my way. I was delivering a keynote at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was reflecting on just how many people had played a role to get me where I was that morning driving into that keynote. Um, so I don't think there is one person that I could pick out because there's been so many. My mum, obviously, as you can well imagine from those stories, an absolute key one for me, and also the fact that she was operating and on the board of directors of a franchise of hair salons when she was the only woman on the board as well. And we're going back to like the 80s and the early 90s, so she is and continues to be, a huge role model for me. But then I've also had incredible mentors and coaches, and I continue to work with incredible mentors and coaches as well. I'm also part of the Professional Speaking Association here in the UK and Ireland. I've just finished a voluntary tenure to be a year as vice president and then of president of the East Midlands region here in the UK. And that has brought me so many wonderful connections and friendships of, of people that are there to support you and help you along the way. I don't think any of us do it on our own. And I'm fortunate that there are so many people. And at times I have I have sought that out. So it's not by accident that I have so many people. I can remember during COVID thinking a lot of my connections are online and I want to build more local connections. So I spoke to people that live near me and I said, this is the kind of support network I want to build. Who would you recommend? And from that, I've got three amazing mentors that I've been working with and closely with for the last 5 years. They're incredible. But that was intentional.
So let me ask you this. You've been on stages, you've seen people on stages. What is the best speech? One of the most rousing, energetic speeches you've ever witnessed?
Mm. I think I've got to go with Sir Ken Robson's TED Talk. So he was at, I don't know if you'll remember this, it's one of the most watched TED Talks of all time. He was at the open, like when TED became what it is,
Yeah,
he was at that first event with Al Gore and Tony Robbins. And what I, what I love about his talk is just how natural and conversational he is. And it's almost like, although he's clearly talking to a huge audience, it feels like he's just talking to you.
yeah. That's wonderful. The best speech I've ever seen, I saw Bill Clinton 20 years ago and I still remember what he talked about.
Ah,
It was amazing. Like when it was at the Harry S. Truman Library in Independence, when those chamber doors opened up, the entire architecture of the particles in the room just changed like that. Like
ah,
I've never seen anybody enter like that. I've never felt that and everything. I mean, he was talking about solar panels in New York City and Brooklyn and how we could harness energy and save the environment. I mean, there were so many things, 20 years plus. And I still remember
wow.
that speech. It's crazy, you know?
Ah, well, it obviously connected and moved you. I love that. I was going to
Yeah.
ask, what did you talk about?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Ah,
let me ask you this. What gets you up every day? What is the motivator for you to do this work, to change lives, to help people? Because you obviously have to get involved with heavy stuff with clients, but you still have to help them get to a better place. So what is that ultimate motivator every day for you?
so I am, I think, so fortunate because every day when I wake up, I feel so sometimes let's be real. Sometimes I have to remind myself I might wake up tired, under restored in my mood, and I may need to remind myself that, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky that I get to do this. But almost every day that I wake up, my first thought is, wow, I get to do this today. I get to work with these people. I get to, whether it's I'm off to London tomorrow, whether it's doing what we're doing, here today, having these kinds of conversations. Um, and it comes back to, as I said before, this work feels like my soul's contract, and it didn't come quickly or easily. In fact, it was 3 years in the kind of messy working out of what that was for me. That I have ended up building a business and a life that gives me the freedom to do, what I want with who I want, as much as I want, when I want. And it is genuinely such a privilege, and for me it will be ever evolving, but so long as I stay true to my values and what's most important to me, then it's around, I think, on some level, a belief and a trust and a faith that when we show up with that level of authenticity, with the gifts that we have, for the messages that we can carry inside of our hearts and show up for others in that way, that that infinite miracles and possibilities will arise. And yeah, just remembering that it's we're all connected, I think, in some way.
I love that answer. Let me ask you this. I'm going to put your speaking skills to the test. You walk into a room, there's all of the clients that you've worked with throughout the years, and you've gone through heavy things and helped them, and they see you in this professional sense. You swim through that group of people, you go up to a podium, and you can tell them one fun story about your life, an adventure, a cool place you went to, jumping out of an airplane, wrestling an alligator, the first live concert you went to, something fun. What would you tell that room?
I would tell of a story from not too long ago when I'd just come back from an all-inclusive holiday in Turkey with my family. Beautiful holiday, gorgeous sunshine, fabulous weather, sea, food, all the things that you could possibly imagine of an all-inclusive beach holiday. And the day after coming home, I took my boys, who are 6 and 9, and we drove out into the countryside, not far from where we live, to go and climb one of the biggest hills in the area. On the way, my youngest was sick all over himself. Back seat of the car. I know this bit doesn't sound that fun.
No, no,
Bear
it's
with.
you're good. This is a good story.
I've got the eldest with this. You imagine me, I'm down one of those little tiny English roads where you can't get two cars past one another. I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to stop. I got to pull over and deal with this. There was no warning he was going to be sick, by the way. Just the eldest looked at, Mummy, he's been sick. I find a little cranny, little nook and cranny that I can like pull into, and I'm working out how to get this kid out of the car with no like wet wipes and like, oh,
Oh,
luckily towel in the like what I was going to do with him. Anyway, we get him sorted, new fresh set of clothes. The eldest one is now driving, and I'm now driving along with the eldest with his head out the window,
of
trying not to
course.
be sick at the smell.
Uh-huh.
And we get to the car park, to this mountain that we're gonna walk up. And bless the little one, he's sick again. And I'm thinking, God, are we going to be able to do this? Anyway, he's such a trooper. So he sets off with some bread and butter and a, good glug of water, his rucksack on his back, and we head out to go up this mountain, past natural waterfalls, beautiful gorges, right up to the top where the views are just absolutely incredible. And we spend the whole day out in nature and walking. And for me, it was such stark contrast of none of the consumerism that there had been on the beach holiday in Turkey, but such an important reminder of how good that nature. And you just don't always, even with the sick, you don't always need stuff,
Yep.
but that nature, that fresh air, and being with one another in the great outdoors is just, yeah, such an adventure,
Yeah.
and it's so good for the soul.
What a great story. So, of everything that you've accomplished, and more importantly, evolved to, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, well, that's a really interesting question. I have been learning recently to avoid or to change the word pride, because perhaps it's on a bit of a spectrum with shame. So if I can feel pride, I might also feel shame about something. So I suppose if I was to answer that as what might I feel most pleased about, and pride also potentially suggests that I'm comparing myself with something or someone. So in terms of what I am most pleased about, um, it's it's got to be the life that I've been able to create and build for myself over the last 10 years. Like I said before, I haven't done it on my own,
Yeah.
but it gives me so much, and it fills me up in, so many ways. And it allows me to be the wife and the mother that I most want to be.
So, Rachel, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you: family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that sees you speak, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, great question. I think that I am someone who cares deeply and lives life from a place of growth and contribution. So personal growth and development and that evolution that we were talking about before is deeply important to me. And then above and beyond that, it's about making a contribution. But I think also, to make this perhaps a little bit more interesting for listeners, I think we also have that view of ourselves that maybe is not quite so rosy as well. And so perhaps in some of my worst moments, I might think that I am particularly lucky, spoilt, perhaps. And yeah, and do I sometimes take the people that I love the most around me for granted?
So let me ask you this. If we get off this call and a time machine pulls up in front of your house, you can go anywhere in the history of time and see one event with your own eyes. It won't affect the history of time, but you get to witness one thing. What would you love to have seen?
I would have loved to have seen what they used Stonehenge for.
Yeah, what a great answer. That's it right there. The mysteries, like the Big Bang of England. That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. So if anyone wants to reach out, they want to learn more, they hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
So the best place to go is my website, which is www.elevar, that's ELLEVAR.co.uk.
Okay, I will put all of this in the show notes. Rachel, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Godspeed. Keep doing the wonderful work.
Thank you, Joe. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Looking to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.